Previously on Obedience Podcast.
Relationships where the purpose is not known opens the door for the devil.
That's true. But we did make a vow to where we wouldn't have sex until we got married. And as some of y'all may know, I know, sex can cloud your judgment.
If God told you to get married to this person, and you know he told you, then you don't need to wait. He told you to do it. At that point, like, you're just being disobedient.
I feel like communication is always something you gotta work on.
Because I'm the type of person, I match energy. So you give me that energy, I'm going to give you that energy right back.
You have to work on not being a mirror of energy, but just being still.
Somebody watch this and they like, they on that video talking about you could be unequally yoked in a relationship.
Yeah.
You know, but
with most men, we only really want two things.
Write it down. What is it?
I am guilty of trying to yoke with someone who wasn't equally yoked with me.
I think a lot of people think a marriage is going to complete them or a relationship is going to complete them. You should already be complete going into a relationship.
Obedience, 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 obedience. Obedience is the cornerstone of our faith in God. Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. Being obedient requires faith in God. Without faith, it is impossible to walk with God. I will. Obedience. Obey God.
Hey y'all, it's Ashley
And Shantavia.
and this is Obedience Podcast.
So in this segment, this part of our series, Boot Up, we're going to discuss being married, and then also we're going to touch a little on being divorced. So y'all ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
dive in.
Yeah, do it.
So you mentioned, about having like this doubting thing, about getting into marriage or anything in general. So does marriage intimidate you at all?
Absolutely. 100%. Absolutely. And I don't mean it from a standpoint of missing out. I mean that I understand the gravity of what marriage is and what it constitutes, what it includes, the pretty and the horrible, ugly it can present. So I see it as a huge milestone and a huge commitment. So where people are jumping head first, I'm like, whoo, that's a long jump. I ain't scared to do it, but I'm going to make sure I jump in the right area at the right time, because I ain't going to bust my head, because I don't want to make a mistake in this. I don't want to get the wrong impression early. I see where other people have failed. Like I said before, I've seen where marriages failed to people close to me. And I've seen what it did. I don't want to experience that with somebody I love. So, yeah, it scares me. I fear it like I fear God. I hold a very high respect for it.
Yep. Do you think that's because of what you saw growing up?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%. I seen the cuteness of it, the honeymoon phase, where it's new, and I'll fix your plate, babe. And I've seen where that stopped. I've seen where y'all go to the family reunion, they like, what's going on with y'all two? Why y'all ain't sitting together? Why, I've seen that, and I don't want that. I don't want to experience that. To have that one person that is your rib, and then just to understand that y'all are just slipping, or there's no greater fear than that. Like, you had this woman that you were in love with madly enough to profess your love for in front of everybody and proclaim that this is it. And then a few years later, y'all ain't even talking. Like, that's scary to me, man. Ugh.
What about you, Ashley?
Yep.
No hesitation.
Man, look here.
Yeah, it does intimidate me because, like you said, I do hold it to a high standard. I remember a time in my life where I was just like, you know what, I'm going to be single and satisfied, I'm going to be the cool auntie to all of my nieces and nephews one day. And I was just like, yeah, single and satisfied. Because I do see divorce, and it was at a time that I did see, like, divorce in, like, older people, like, people I went to church with, people in my family, and I'm just like, they got a divorce? That would be the last people that I would, ever imagine.
That's the
to
example
get
you
divorced.
had in your mind.
That was an example that I had. I don't know what brought me back to, like, have wanting that desire to be in a relationship and then ultimately get married. But I think it was more so that I didn't have the understanding of what marriage was too, because of the word submission. I know, like, a lot of times the word submission can get, like, misconstrued. Like, I know, like, I've seen, like, where the world sees submission or being submitted to your husband. Like, wives be submissive to your husband, and that means be their slave. But I look at it now. You have to understand the format of marriage. So God is the head. God is going to be the head over the husband, and then the husband is going to be over the wife, and then the wife is going to, what is it? I wanted to bring up the scripture, Ephesians 5 and 22 through 27, and it pretty much just gives you the format of marriage.
Wives, be subject to your own husbands as a service to the Lord. For the husband is head of the wife, as Christ is head of the church, himself being the Savior of the body. But as the church is subject to Christ, so also wives be subject to their husbands in everything, respecting both their position as protector and their responsibility to God as head of the house.
Okay. So as long as the husband is submitted to God, then you shouldn't have a problem submitting to your husband if he's submitted to God. Then your husband has a covering, and that is God, and he's receiving direction from God. So I will say initially I was intimidated because of the word submission. God ain't gonna have you submitting to no junk, and I wasn't for that, like being a slave or anything like that. But yeah. I would say it did intimidate me at first, but and then like just being the transition, like we talked about earlier, about like growing together, and like what if it doesn't, what if you guys don't grow together? What do you do? What do you do then? So yeah, it's a scary feeling, like it's scary. But yeah.
During Pastor D's We Are the Family series that I talked about earlier, he did make a quote saying, if you love someone, you love the 20%, you need training to learn the 80%. So basically, when you get married, that's when you get into the 80% of whoever you're married to. Mm-hmm. And so when I was in church and I heard that, I was like, I was a little intimidated then at that point. Yeah. I mean, but I know that, God, he wanted us, to be married, and we see marriage from the beginning of the Bible all the way until. So, if y'all haven't guessed by now, if you've been watching all these parts, I am a relationship person. So ultimately, I do want to be in a relationship and be married. So I mean, it can be intimidating, but I know as long as I do the work for myself, I find somebody that's doing the work for their self, and then we get in it together. We do the work together. Everything should be fine. Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's just like seeing what just like seeing my parents married. They've been married for like 30 years.
Which is why I was surprised that you said it was intimidating. Just
because I see the things that they go through. I see it firsthand, and I'm just like, ooh, child, mama, you a good one. Daddy, you a good one. I mean, but it's so beautiful though. The things that they've gone through, and they helped each other in, and the sacrificial love you have to put yourself. Sometimes you do have to put yourself. What am I trying to say? You have to let self go to help your spouse. Mm-hmm.
That's a tough concept by itself,
tough.
Though.
Yeah,
that right there.
Because you have to continually to die to yourself to help, meet the needs of your spouse. And to compromise, oh Jesus, help me, Lord. But I do believe it's a beautiful covenant, but it's work, y'all.
Did you want to touch on the marriage intimidating you thing?
Oh no, marriage doesn't intimidate me because I know what it looks like when it's beautiful, and I know what it takes to make it work. Mm-hmm. I also know what it take to destroy it as well. So I'm not saying I know everything, but I'm pretty seasoned on the what to do's and what not to do's.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You got an upper hand on that. So, when I brought up your parents, how they're still together. So I know me. My idea of marriage is very skewed, to be 100% honest and transparent. I found that out about myself a while ago. I mean, because my parents got divorced when I was like 2. So I don't remember them ever being together. Mm-hmm. So the only concept of marriage I saw was on TV. Because everybody I know who's married, they're outside of my house. And so, I'm on TV like, okay, that is a good concept of marriage. It's working for them. Yeah. I'm going to go by that, And
Huxtable.
That's not true,
Yeah.
But like as I got older, I started realizing, ideally that's not what marriage is, But I can't say that I've gotten that romantic side of marriage out of my mind, like that TV style of marriage. I mean, because that's all I saw, And one thing I do know, like going into marriage, I definitely need to remember that. Because, growing up, you had your model. You get it. Hey, marriage is not like this ideal thing. You're going to go through tough times. But having somebody, well, if you end up with somebody whose parents weren't together, they don't always think that way. So, what about you, Jeremy? What is your idea of marriage?
Before you say yours, can I say this real quick?
Yeah.
When I said my little comment before, that you do like the marriage, you go through struggles, but the beautiful thing, I felt like I made marriage seem ugly.
You didn't. No,
and it's not all the time. It's beautiful, but the beautiful, the realness of it. We don't see a lot of realness of it, but the beautiful thing about a marriage, and we're talking about a biblical based marriage, is that you have God as the center. And that's what brings you back together. So I just wanted to say that before.
Cool. It's so much in it, man. It's hard to put it like you put me on the spot first off. I think it is beautiful. I do. It's like a child. It's beautiful, but at the same time, you're afraid because there's so many things that are out there that will try and attack this beautiful, pure thing. And this thing will grow and mature as time progresses, and it will change based on how we grow together. So, like I said before, it isn't that I'm afraid of it. It's that I respect it fully because it's all about what you put into it and how receptive you are and what you learn to filter out and allow in. Yeah, I think that's a good way to encapsulate that.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of the ultimate commitments.
Yeah.
If you don't get married, it's not something you just jump into just to be like, oh, I need something to do this year. I'm planning a wedding. It's more than that. I think a lot of people, it's like, they get so like hyped about the wedding day, but you gotta survive after the wedding.
Because I feel like they're hyped about being the talk of the town. That's what they're hyped about. Because I know pastors that won't even marry you if you haven't done X amount of, counseling or, if they haven't sat down and talked together. You got to do counseling together. You got to do counseling separately.
And I respect pastors who do that.
Man, big time. Because you're looking out for what's best for them. You're making them look at it from every aspect possible. You're going to look at it together and separate because you obviously both have two different points of views, so.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, you both are bringing baggage. You got to figure out how to deal with that.
Yeah, man. What are wipes and what are towels? And
they plan for the wedding, but don't plan for the marriage.
Because I know somebody who had a beautiful wedding. We had a good party. We was up there, had a band. I did.
No,
but the marriage, the wedding was longer than the marriage. Man. Just saying, it was good, but.
I'll say this too, when you live with someone, it's different too. That is something. I shacked up. I'll say it, the old folks say you shacked up. I shacked up, and I feel like I'm not ashamed of it because I learned something about that. Because it seemed cool at first. But when such and such isn't, responsible with certain things, and you got to wake up to this person, and y'all already can't communicate. Man, what? It's real talk. You being for real. It's the little things that'll get you.
Yeah.
when you're with someone. Seeing them, at their worst, when they're sick, when they're upset, seeing them when they're mad, when they're off work, it ain't all rainbows, guys.
All right. So, I mean, like we said, like marriage is a huge commitment. So I do think some people have taken like that commitment to the next level. Because I know biblically, like if someone cheats on their spouse, they are allowed to separate from that person. Yeah. So, I mean, but here lately, it's been a lot of talk about, cheating happening and the couple staying together. Like, for instance, like Beyonce and Jay-Z, or Tina Campbell and her husband, or even Erica Campbell and her husband. She revealed, too, like, major cheating happened and they fought it out and they stayed together. So, like, how do you guys feel about that?
That's that scary thing I was talking about, man. This is going to sound bad. I seen what a healthy divorce looks like and a destructive divorce. And I'm glad I saw them both at an early age. Sometimes we put ourselves in a commitment with someone and God, and that wasn't the right time. Could have been the right person. But again, we talked about how you're still growing. So your heart was in the right place, but you weren't there just yet. You may have rushed it inadvertently just a little bit, and it didn't work in the end. And my best friend, he came to an agreement with his wife that, we tried. I appreciate your effort, but we're gonna stop it. We're not gonna be toxic because now we have a child. He's seeing this; it's affecting him. Let's do what's best for everybody in this, and just put it asunder. And I respect that, and I seen the ugly side of, like you talked about, people who've been married for 40, 50 years, and they 70, and next thing you know, they get a divorce. Like, we looking on the outside like, man, they didn't work, but how many years of poison was that? Right. So as much as I used to be like, no, divorce is not an option, I will fight when it's worth fighting.
The key thing is both of y'all gotta want it.
Yes.
And both of y'all gotta really give y'all all in it, because I've been divorced before. So with that being said, my idea of marriage was something where it was healthy naturally and it was healthy spiritually. Cause my mindset was still pray for me, pray with me, and all that good stuff. But at the same point, marriage necessarily isn't going to heal someone's flaws or heal someone's shortcomings that they have. And I'm not saying that in a negative way, but if you're not healed yourself, going into a marriage, that's not going to make it any worse. Matter of fact, that's going to magnify that shortcoming that they had. Because now you're looking at things from a whole nother different way of, okay, we married, this shouldn't be an issue no more. You know what I'm saying? When we were just dating, you know what I'm saying, once we got married, we made that commitment. All that other nonsense should stop, but it don't work like that. That person has to figure themselves out, because it's two people under one roof. And you're trying to have happy times while that person is trying to figure themselves out. So now you're frustrated of why they're not figuring the stuff out. They feel like you don't care, but you're trying to pray them through it. And especially if it's a self-esteem issue, then it's really gonna snowball. You know what I'm saying? If you're down on yourself or allow other people to get down on you, to get you down rather, it don't matter what I say, because you're looking to be sad. You're looking to have somebody feel sorry for you. So no matter how much I pray for you, then, you know what I'm saying, it's not going to work. Because the thing about it, and I asked God, I said, if we went through all this because we had a child and the child died after 3 weeks, but I saw God work miracles. And I asked God, I said, well, God, if you let us see all these miracles, all these things that was happening, all these blessings that we getting when we was married, I mean, why did this happen? And he never spoke to me about it until maybe a year or so later. And he said that he brought me to the story of Lot and his wife. It wasn't God's will for Lot's wife to perish. The husband already had the vision on how them to get out and gave them a specific assignment of what to do. And if you do this, this was going to happen. If you don't do this, this was going to happen as well. So a lot of times when stuff happens, it doesn't mean that that God ordained it. It means that we stepped outside His will. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times, some people get a divorce because they stepped outside of God's will. God gave you a plan of what not to do and what to do, mm-hmm. and you did the opposite. No matter of what kind of affliction it was that you had, if God said, "I'm gonna bring you out of it," then He's gonna bring you out of it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than what you hope for it to have, but sometimes you tend to look back, and in that marriage, we had a look back moment. Now that wasn't God's will for the marriage, but stepping inside His will, you got to deal with that consequence of what happened, and that's what it was. So, I tried to fight for it. I would say, looking at it on a 100% scale, I say that during our marriage, we probably stayed in the same household maybe 35% of the time.
Wow.
Because every time that we would get into a disagreement, that person would go back to their parents' home, and their parents allowed them to stay there.
Oh man!
You know, so whether it was a disagreement about going to the grocery store, or a disagreement about one another feeling that they not get heard, that person always had an out to go back. Mm-hmm. You know, so like I said, and that was something that, what we talked about earlier, was a red flag. Some of that happened in the beginning, you know, so it got to be both of y'all. But as far as the divorce part, it's different strokes for different folks. We now make fun of divorce, I believe, because I've heard people say money has a lot to do with it. I heard somebody say, well, would you rather cry in Mobile or cry in Dubai? You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So
I don't want to cry at all.
yeah,
right.
You know, so you know how some people say, well, they don't want to go through all of what Sierra went through to get a Russell Wilson, or vice versa. But I mean, both of y'all gotta want it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But if you find yourself the only one fighting, I would advise you, for your mental and spiritual sanity, you know what I'm saying, to go ahead, man. Because it was times I cried. You know, because I was like, I'm doing my all. I'm praying. I'm still going to church. I'm faithful. Even when we weren't going to church together, I was still going to church. I was still praying over our wedding picture, watching our wedding views and all like that. But I was the only one fighting. Mm-hmm. You know, so at that point, I had to be like, you know what, I can't do no more. You know, didn't mean to be too long-winded.
No, that was powerful. That was powerful.
Good. Going into marriage, I do want to go for better or for worse, but I'll be like, dang, how bad is your worst?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have an answer for this. Like you said, I do believe both of y'all have to be willing to fight within a marriage. We all know it's all work in a marriage. But what do you do when the other person doesn't want to fight or work on the marriage?
Keep praying.
I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. I feel, like you said, if you feel that, like Casey said, that you're fighting, you're doing all you can that you could, and it's just not being reciprocated, that's not God not showing you a sign. That's not you not working hard enough. I think that's just that person not committed to the same thing you're committed. At that point, it's okay to cut your losses at that point. You know, you can't drag someone through a marriage.
That's true. I don't know. I just don't want to speak that. I don't know. I just don't like the word, or like just throwing divorce around so loosely. Or even like in a playing sense, be like, oh, you did that, I'm going to divorce you. You know, in a playing sense.
Power in the tongue.
Yeah. That's still power in the tongue. You have to be careful about that word being thrown around. So, yeah. Even when it does get tough, if y'all going to fight, you got to be, if you're going to go into a marriage, you have to go into it with the fight. Because I do believe the devil does not like the union of two people come together under a covenant. So I think he's going to come for your marriage.
Yeah.
So you have to go into it with a fight.
Especially if it's God ordained.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
He don't like nothing God ordained.
Definitely.
So of course he going to come forward. So.
Just to piggyback off of what you said, if you are going to get married, I believe you have to go into it with the mind state of for better or for worse. Even if you're not going, even if your worst is like limited, I still feel like you should go into it with the mind state of that, just so it won't be so easily broken. You know, like, yeah, you may have had like a fight 6 months in a row, but you want to try and stick it out. You know, like if it gets excessive, I understand what you guys are saying, but I also look at it as if I'm not going to be the one that says, oh, I will not do that, I'll never do that, because you don't know.
I've heard that before.
You don't know until you're in that situation. You truly don't know. Like, you don't know what Beyonce and Jay-Z went through, or what Tina Campbell and her husband went through. Like, you don't know the emotions that are behind it that made them stay, or the reasons that are behind it that made them stay. Like, until you're in that situation, you don't know how you would react. So I wouldn't say
I agree.
I don't believe in it, because I don't know. I've never been in it. I don't want to say I'll never, because that's not true. Until you go through that. Because a lot of people say that, like, with domestic violence situations. They're like, I'll never stay with them.
I sure did.
But when you're in that situation, it's different.
Yeah,
it is. Like, if you find out that your husband cheated on you today, you still don't love them the same that you loved them yesterday. You're just going to be hurt by them, but you still have that same love. So maybe they never could turn off that love for them, and they decided to stay, but you don't know. So that's how I look at it.
I feel like God listens to our conversations, because I feel like God has a sense of humor. Like, really? And he'll be like, oh, you ain't gonna do what? Word. Okay, see me in 10 years. I'll holler at you. And I feel like there's a lesson you learn to not speak things, like you were saying, into existence. What I mean about is putting God in a position where you're telling him what he can't and won't do, whether you realize it's directly or indirectly, saying, oh, I won't deal with this. Okay, now you will, because you said you won't. Now you're being disobedient. I told you to be open to the idea of marriage and to work at it. I didn't tell you to work at it unless y'all get into it. You see what I'm saying? So I said, for better or for worse.
I said what I said.
Yeah, right.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't feel like those people should be judged if they decide to stay.
I agree. I agree.
Don't be like, what? Why?
I agree. They shouldn't be put on a pedestal, nor should they be judged either.
I think a lot of people, like, these days, like, they're looking at those relationships and being like, okay, well, I can let this person treat me like that.
Exactly.
Like, if
don't
you
get justification
if you have
out of
an
it.
issue with how that person is treating you, don't look at, well, Beyonce stays, so I should stay. No, Beyonce's not you.
Right.
You know?
And Jay-Z got beat up in the elevator.
Right.
Let's not forget that.
Yes.
And then we seen that people looking at it like that, we seen that affect people's self-esteem, because I mean, whether people joking or not, people like, well, if Beyonce got cheated on, I know I'll probably get cheated on too.
And then they start accepting it.
Well,
all men cheat. So, not all of them.
I pray all of them don't.
I think the main thing I got to worry about is communicating in time. Because I really, I hate communicating in the heat of the moment. And I know that's going to be an issue when I get to that point. Because I've said stuff that I couldn't take back before. And I saw how destructive that was. So I'm trying to learn patience where even when I'm out of my element, I can still convey the message that I need to. You know, even if it's like, yo, I messed up, I'm sorry, I'm finna go chill out. You know, because I recently had an incident where I was frustrated with something completely unrelated, and I answered the phone a certain way. And as soon as I did it, I knew it was wrong. And I was like, I did it. I wasn't trying to, but I did it. And yeah, it's learning from those mistakes that, you know, I'm glad I'm doing it now, per se, rather than later. So now I can get a jump on it. I see how outside stimuli affect me. So
That's good. All right. We ready to move into fellowship time?
all right.
Fellowship time now. So during this fellowship time, we just have like one topic we want to discuss, but then we're going to turn it over to these guys so they can tell us more about their podcast and all the different endeavors and different events that they have coming up. So You guys have heard us mention him 1,000 times.
I mean, a trillion.
Probably every single episode.
Mm-hmm.
But Pastor Mike Todd has a book coming out in April.
Yep.
And it is very fitting for this series.
Mm-hmm.
It is called Relationship Goals. So y'all need to go out and purchase that. First go back and watch the series.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch it if you're married. Like, it touches on everybody. And then read the book.
It does not leave out anybody. Mm-hmm. It touches on everybody. I'm just saying. Listen to it. Watch it. Mm-hmm. Tell a friend about it.
Tell a friend and tell a friend.
To tell their mama. It is really. I'm excited though. You're gonna purchase it.
Yeah, I'm kind of upset. It's January when we're recording this, and they announced it, and it comes out in April. So I'm just trying to figure out why they're making us wait so long.
Uh-huh.
That's what.
And I think it's like mid-April.
Oh, that ain't the beginning of it.
Yeah, might as well be May.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you better stop speaking that in existence. Book
Right?
away, you ain't gonna be mad.
But it's just anticipation,
Right.
All right. So since we do have our special guest, Mr. Wind Down Wednesday, aka Casey, and Mr. Sir, aka Jeremy from 2020 Podcast, we want to give y'all a time to kind of tell us what the podcast is about, or tell us like y'all individual things that y'all have going on, and how can we keep in touch with you.
All right. So 2020 Podcast is a local podcast to Mobile that highlights local activities, conversations, events, careers, hobbies, whatever it is that's going on that's positive or just needs to be discussed. We touch on mental health. We touch on financial literacy. We touch on the difficult conversations, honestly, that need to come out. Because it started out as an idea that when I moved back to Mobile, that every time I turned on some sort of media, it was always negative when it came to the black community. So I told my mom that I was like, yo, I'm not really feeling how we're portrayed on the news all the time. And she was like, well, do something about it. Start your own thing. And started a podcast. And I was fortunate enough to meet Casey. And we chopped it up. And he started doing his Wind Down Wednesday thing. And I let him take it from here.
What's going on, y'all? Wind Down Wednesday, that's something I do every Wednesday, schedule permitting. And just talk about different subjects. Sometimes I bring people on. We've had the dating hot seat. Mm-hmm. Just having single people on there, giving their input on how they feel about dating, and just different things. Last week we did a battle of the albums. Mm-hmm. So we just have different topics on there and just have fun. We like to hear your voice. A lot of times we put stigmatisms and opinions on people, but we like to hear y'all feedback and what y'all hear on different subjects from race, religion, music, food, whatever it is. You never know what you'll get on Wind Down Wednesday, so y'all make sure that y'all check that out. Also, shout out to Wind Down Wednesday sponsors, Shop Black Renaissance. Hey. Make sure y'all go to www.shopblackrenaissance.com and check out some fly gear that they have.
Yeah. And if you want to tune into 2020, we're also on Facebook at the 2020 PC. Mm-hmm. We're on SoundCloud, 2020 Podcast, YouTube, 2020 Podcast, iHeartRadio, 2020 Podcast, Google and Apple Podcasts. We everywhere. We everywhere.
We in hell.
And if y'all get us to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, I will shave my beard off by the end of this year. So we need 100,000 subscribers on YouTube by the end of this year.
How many y'all got now?
We had like 140 something.
Okay.
So 900 something thousand more.
So if it's reaching you,
it's just January.
Hey, and I'm with it. If he does it, I'll do it too. We'll live stream it. I'll even go bald if we can get 100,000 this year. If we get 100,000 this year, I'll go bald.
I'll go bald with him.
That is. Don't look at me like that. I said what I said. Said what I said.
Okay.
All right. But that's
like
it,
that
man.
one too much.
I don't like that one, but I'm here for the growth of the podcast. So I guess I'll suffer for that moment.
Hey.
And if I may insert, thank you for inviting us to do this.
Yes,
we were really excited to come and do this. We always like to do the inclusive thing, rather than the exclusive. It's always a pleasure to support y'all because y'all support us as well. But I'm glad to see that y'all made it this far because I know this started out as an idea with you two, and I've been in the background just watching like, yeah, they doing it. They love it. They love it. So kudos to y'all, man. I'm really happy for y'all.
Thank you.
So
we are happy that you guys came. You are like our first male guest, and this was a heavy hitter topic. And,
yes, it was.
And y'all made it simple and easy.
Yes.
So we thank you for that.
Oh, we gonna talk. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk.
Definitely.
Does the podcast come out on a certain day? The 2020 podcast?
I usually release on either Wednesdays or Sundays.
Okay.
So just stay tuned in. If it's an audio podcast, just tune in to the audio outlets. If it's a video, I usually throw a trailer up or some kind of teaser on our Facebook page to let you know who's coming. Oh, holler at us on Instagram too. Follow us. 2020_podcast. Follow us. I usually put a picture up of who I'm interviewing coming soon. That way you can kind of be in the know.
Mm-hmm. Is there a story behind the 2020 name?
Yes. I was having a conversation with someone, and they kept saying, I kept reviewing my year with them, kind of comparing myself, and they were like, well, hindsight is 2020, so you're always going to see it with perfect vision. So why don't you apply that to your future? And I was like, 2020 vision, 2020 podcast, 2020 podcast. Let's do it. So that's how it happened.
And I do know 2020 podcast, they do host business minutes.
Oh yeah.
On their outlet. So you want to tell?
Yes, Business Minute it's just a face-to-face conversation about a career or an event or anything you have going on that you're proud of. It's just our way of giving back to the community and bringing awareness, because advertising firms will charge you to talk about your business, and then all they do is just spread it on social media and things like that. I figure, why don't I do that for free? I'll set up an interview with you, audio or video or both, and I'll edit it, do everything for you for free. You can just share it on your page or your website, whatever it may be. No thing too big or too small. If you got a passion for it, let's talk about it. And if you want to message me about it, feel free to email me at nawcuz, that's NAWCUZ05@gmail.com. Again, that's NAWCUZ05@gmail.com. You.
So what are the plans and hopes for this year of 2020 with the podcast? Or with your lives in general?
Well, expansion. Aggressive expansion this year. There's a lot of things in the works, a lot of projects that we're working with. I'm glad to incorporate ourselves and work with other podcasts like you guys, because I think there are plenty of voices here in Mobile that need exposure, and we have a lot to say, and we have to make it cool to say it. So working together like this is one of my key goals this year. Also, I want to make this my full-time thing. So I'm taking certain business steps to incorporate this as a business by the end of this month to get my foot in the door and, just make a way so that one day, like I tell Casey all the time, one day I'm just going to message you and be like, hey, I need you to come sign this contract for a job. And that's the goal.
And mine is definitely to take, like I said, I appreciate Jeremy for just giving me the opportunity to have this platform. So my thing is to take Wind Down Wednesday and run with it as much as I can to start doing stuff out of the box this year instead of what the norm I've been doing. Of course, for my personal endeavors, I do plan on coming out with another book this year.
Oh yeah.
Don't know exactly. I know what kind of genre it's going to be, but don't know exactly the title of it. And once again, just another year. This is the 5th year that we're doing the Voices of Gospel Music Awards.
Oh, yeah. So shout out to the pod.
I'm definitely excited about that. Shout out to Gary D. Johnson, the CEO and founder of the 5th Annual Voices of Gospel Music Awards, and we have a couple of events coming up soon with that. We did a Christmas concert last year, and we're just trying to, of course, recognize the independent artists and bring more exposure to the independent artists, not just in Mobile, but around the world. So, and then just see wherever else God takes me.
Plug that first book.
My first book was My Thoughts, The Journey to Find Her. You can still get that on Amazon, or if you would like a personal autographed copy, you can see me for that. I can pull up, or you can come to me. So Thank everybody who has purchased it, who wanted to purchase but couldn't, or even people who didn't care. I still thank all y'all.
That's awesome.
I got the signed copy.
And you can get it too.
Right.
What's that? What do you got? Any shout outs? Y'all want to shout y'all folks out? I'm just playing. But if you want
like
to.
we said,
Mama them.
oh yeah, mom, big time mom. Like I said, it was always an idea, but mom is the one who told me yo, it's okay, go do your podcast, do it. And that's the thing. I always say this in my interviews: the hardest thing ever is to have an idea and act on it. But my mom, and I don't really talk to her about these type of things very often, but she was like, yo, that's a good idea. Do it. And she bought me this sign that says follow your heart, and it's still hanging up in my apartment because of that to this day. So shout out to mom. Again, shout out to my other podcast co-host, Ebony the Goddess, K Marie, Lady, your boy Black. Hey, I appreciate y'all more than y'all know. I love all of y'all. Y'all keep me going.
It's nothing like having an idea and having support behind you.
Man,
Definitely.
big time.
About you want to shout out?
I'm tripping. Man, shout out to everybody who follows 2020 podcast, everybody who has been a part of the Voice Gospel Music Awards, everybody who has supported Shop Black Renaissance. Shout out to my kids. Shout out to Kieta. Shout out to my brothers. Keelan, Kevin, Roy, just shout out to shout out to my family, shout out to my church family, State Street, Amy Zion, who else? Shout out to Five Guys, y'all making them hamburgers good. I would definitely want to give a huge shout out, thank you to God. It's coming up 5 years ago. I actually died, had a cardiac arrest. I just went in for a simple abscess, and this is another story behind that. But God saved my life, you know what I'm saying? So I know I have a purpose, so I thank him for that. It wasn't the doctors assisted, but it was God's plan in my life that brought me back. So I definitely want to thank him for keeping me, even when I didn't want to keep myself, for forgiving me over and over again, even when I made the same mistakes. I paid the consequences for that stuff, but I thank him because the wages of sin are death, and it could have been under death, but it was not. So I definitely thank him for his grace and definitely for his mercy and his love.
Amen.
Right. right.
Grace.
Grace is blessed.
Grace. You got a song in your spirit?
Is that a hymn?
I don't know what you're saying.
Grace and mercy.
Your grace and mercy.
That hymn?
No.
Oh.
But first off, y'all didn't say y'all trademarked it, so I'm finna write down that single. What did you say?
Oh,
single
yeah,
Satisfied.
To my soul.
Oh, don't try to steal our idea.
I ain't saying no. What you talking about anyway?
When you said single and
He
satisfied.
said, I said, single, saved, and satisfied.
Yeah, I'm finna.
So a bunch of.
Yeah, that could be on the shirt.
Good.
Could be.
I can't wear it though. I get in
You
trouble. Right.
You
You
right.
can't either. Talking about me.
I didn't say I was gonna wear it.
Mm-hmm. I don't want you looking at it. It better not be in your cart.
Just trying to
I'm just trying to support.
Nah, cuz.
But we can come on with real relationship.
Nah, cuz.
No?
Just let it be. Just let it be.
I was trying.
I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Let it be.
So, are there any final words that you would like to give to our viewers about this series? It was such a good series. I don't know. I don't know
It was
about
a
y'all,
lot.
but I enjoyed it myself.
Nah, I was ready to go. I'm kidding. I loved it. I thought it was dope. It was a good
Yeah,
conversation.
I definitely enjoy myself to give people a different perspective. 'Cause the thing about
But yeah, I do want to thank you guys. I really did enjoy this episode. I was scared at first, not of y'all, but I'm just saying of the topic of the show. But I knew that it was gonna go well. I just was just like I guess I was overexcited, and then I was just like, ooh, what if this? But it was a good episode. But one thing I would say to the audience and the viewers, I would want to encourage you guys that God does. I know that we talked about a lot of realness out here, behind relationship and marriage, and God does want relationships for us, whether it be a companionship or just friendships. So know that life is not meant for us to live it alone. God does want us to have relationships. So I want to encourage you guys to find even a friend to have a relationship with. And I said whether it be friends or a companionship. So, yep.
All right. Like you said, Ashley, I was very intimidated by this subject matter and very nervous. I mean, because it would be, one of the most hot moments, that I've had on the show, just being so open and transparent. I mean, because I know I had a conversation with my cousin. I was like, I'm really nervous about this episode tomorrow. And she was like, why? I was like, because I don't want people in my business. That's just not, but I knew it needed to get out. That's why I agreed to it. So I'm happy I got it out.
You did a good job.
Thank you. Before we leave, if you guys have seen our episodes, then you know that we have a little special gift for you guys.
I did not think this was going to happen. This is real.
This is
okay. Gotta be lookable.
all right, this is yours.
Oh, wow, thank you.
This is yours.
Thank you.
Got some weight to it.
Yeah, it does. I'm a little...
But we just wanted to show you guys appreciation from us, thanking you for coming on our show and being so open, and being so y'all jumped at the opportunity.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, let me think about it. Yeah. Like y'all ran to it, and so we appreciate that. And then one thing I do appreciate y'all about y'all is y'all bought us questions that we hadn't even thought about. You were open and ready, so I appreciate that. Yeah. Because all the other guests have been kind of nervous and like, I don't know what to say. So.
No.
We're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, that's what we said in the car. Like, they don't know. We finna talk.
Well, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to this series. We hope you guys really enjoyed it. And if you have feedback for us, let us know down in the comments. If you want to send us an email, it's obediencepodcast@gmail.com. We'll always be open to your responses. If you disagree with anything, let us know. This is all about conversation and community. So again, we want to thank you for tuning into this series, and we look forward to you guys joining us for our next series. Yep. So tune in. So as always, be obedient.